First of all, let's start out, how special is this place to you?
Oh, it's very, very special. I was the last bar mitzvah in Kilgore at Beth Sholem, and then when this building opened in 1957, my sister Phyllis was the first wedding here. She and her husband Abe filled up the whole sanctuary and into the social hall with people.
I see. And considering, let's go back to, to the creation of this building. When was this built?
The building started in, I would say, the early to mid 50s. And my father of blessed memory was chairman of the building committee. And then here I am, chairman of the bequest committee to donate the building.
So it's almost like that family lineage. It's important to y'all's families.
Oh yes, there's 3 generations of Milsteins represented here.
And so, considering at the time, and how many families did it start out with, I guess?
We had 65 families at one time, and the sanctuary seats 180, and for our high holidays, we would fill up the sanctuary.
For you guys, that the congregation slowly dwindled, is that correct?
That is correct, yes. It just, over the years, people left, people died, people moved away. Jeff is the only kid that went through religious school here that is still in Longview. Well, our expenses very, very much exceeded our income from contributions and dues, and it just became overwhelming. So we knew we had to do something. Plus the building is older, and there seems like too often things break down.
Right. And given that way, what's the hope that maybe the city can turn around and use it in a new light in that way?
Definitely. We're hoping we know they'll have to raise the building because it's been so out of code for decades. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see the city make a park out of it and keep the memory of the synagogue alive with the park.
Absolutely. And so a park, why just a place where children can come and whatnot too? Is that kind of
Yeah, we're located about Long Park is just adjacent to our property, and we're about halfway between the south beginning of Long Park and the north beginning of Long Park. So no matter which way you're going, you can stop here and rest and continue your journey on Long Park. And we sit on 5.8 acres. So the city would have a lot of land to work with. We have a religious school wing that has about 6 classrooms, but none of them have been used for decades. And the few of us that attend services maybe number, on a good Shabbat, maybe 8 people. Last Shabbat, we had like 6 people.
Wow. And so just under 10 people currently attend and whatnot too.
That's correct.
And so what are these 10 people going to do now? Well, this is a proposal at this time. You guys are still here and whatnot, but where are you guys going to go?
Well, hopefully we'll go to Temple Bethel in Tyler. They have always welcomed us, and their rabbi, Neil Katz, has really been a provider of essential ritual services. It's a mitzvah, which means it's a good thing, a commandment in Judaism to do something like this. We're doing good. We all understand the situation and the reality of the situation. I'd like to thank the city of Longview for even entertaining this proposal.
And when did you guys come to the city with the proposal? When was that?
May 13th, I believe.
May 13th. Okay, so within this last month.
Yes.
This has all happened. Okay. How long has talks been about doing this?
I think our committee has been meeting for probably a year or more.
So yeah, this isn't something the city of Longview was particularly seeking out, but the congregation reached out to us and said that they were considering what it would look like to give the city that property, as their congregation had lower attendance each week and annually. And it's about 5 acres and it's connected to the Cargill Long Trail. And so it's not every day that the city of Longview has the opportunity to even consider adding park space along our trail system. And so when they reached out and began the conversation several years ago, and then when just recently they kind of officially voted that this is where they would like to go, it's obviously something the city was eager to consider because of what it could mean for expanding our parks and recreation system. We've had off and on conversations since as early as 2022. The church obviously understood its dynamics and understood the city's dynamics, and it's been an ongoing conversation, but really kind of picked up steam again this year, which obviously led to their decision to kind of officially move to give it to us, that now we'll go through the city's processes as well to make sure that that's something that makes sense for the city and our residents.
Right. And so the proposal officially went through, what was it, May 13th,
That's
somewhere around there?
as I understand it earlier this month. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so what does it have to do to pass now? So what has to be considered? Does the parks have to approve something, or is this something city council will go up and say, hey, we approve this or we don't?
Yeah, ultimately, it'll be a council decision. It was presented this past month at our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting. That's the group of residents that have been pulled together to advise our Parks and Recreation system on its future and its objectives. And it was presented to them for discussion this past month. And they're planning to bring it back next month in June for the Parks and Rec Board to consider. Usually what that would look like is if the Parks and Rec Board thought it was a good idea, they would recommend that the city council do or do not say yes to the deal. From there, it would move to the city council, and it'll be up to the city council if it's a thing that they would like to move forward with. And presumably that conversation would happen within the next few months based on whatever the recommendation of the Parks Board is.
Okay, absolutely. And so if you think about it, because honestly, you think about it like a donated property, you don't think of a lot of cons. However, maybe a con could be the expenses over time and maybe what you have to do to the building. Do you have to upgrade stuff and whatnot? And how do you make it a park setting? Is that kind of the thought process that needs to be considered?
Yeah, so what Parks Director John Albertson advised the Parks and Rec Advisory Board when they met again in May was that if we chose to move forward and accept the property, that ultimately it would be a park space and we would look to build out that park space. But we don't currently have funds allocated to adding new equipment or playgrounds or whatever ends up being there. That's not currently in the budget because it wasn't anticipated. The other piece of it is that the current temple that is there, the church understands and the city understands, would likely need to be demolished or raised as a part of making that space usable. It was built as a temple. It's not a recreation center, and the cost to kind of retrofit it and make it something that would make sense from a Parks and Rec standpoint doesn't really make sense for that space. But so there would also be a cost associated with raising that facility as well. And so those are some of the things that the Parks Board and ultimately the City Council are going to have to consider as they look to decide if they want to move forward with this for the city. Now, the temple did ask that if we move forward with it, I think as a part of what they voted on was keeping things like the cornerstone, keeping things like the historical marker, keeping things that reflect the significance of that property to that community and to our greater Longview community moving forward, even keeping the name Emmanuel somewhere involved in the park so that it maintains some of that historic nature. I'd actually point to what our Parks and Recreation Department has done recently very well at what previously was called the Grove and then became called McGrill Plaza. But if you've been out there recently, we've done a lot to breathe back in the history of that plaza as the Grove and talking about what it meant to some of our earliest Longview residents who would meet there and worship there. And so this would probably look a lot the same. To your point, how do you maintain the historic nature of the space while also making it usable park space? Because ultimately for us, the thing that would be exciting is having an additional park area along our 10 miles of connected trail system. You know, if you think about it, we have Lois Jackson Park, we have Guthrie Park with Rotary, we have Patterson, we have Teague at the end, but we do not have a ton of parks of Fluellen, but we don't have a ton of parks immediately adjacent to the trail system. So having another area of land in a part of our community that could use more parks, and also have it be a part of that trail system would be a big win for our community if it makes sense. And that's ultimately what council is going to have to decide.
I see, okay. And any timeline on when council this would pop back up on the agenda, or is there going to be some time since the proposal?
Yeah, I don't have it slated. I've not been given the date that it'll be there. I'll tell you what the expectation would be is that it's going to come back before our Parks and Rec Advisory Board when they meet at the end of June. And from there, they'll decide if they want to recommend yes or no. And it would be after that that it would go before council. So I think it would be safe to assume that it would likely come before council at sometime this summer, but certainly following it going through the Parks and Rec Board, because that's why that board exists, is to make recommendations to the city council regarding the Parks and Rec programs and facilities. And so we really want to leverage that resident voice to make sure that it's not just staff members and council just making decisions, but we're really hearing from the community through that Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Talking with, the congregation and whatnot, how has that conversation been?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the short answer is we're just incredibly grateful. It's not every day that someone comes to the city and says, hey, here's some land. We want to put it to a great community use, and we want to work with you to make that happen. So much of the amazing things that exist in Longview have happened because of residents getting involved. I mean, so much of our park system, whether it's pickleball courts or disc golf courts or a dog park or a skateplex or a splash pad, have all occurred because people care enough to give back and to invest. And this is just one more time that there's this group in the community that sees the way that they can make an impact for generations to come. And so we're incredibly grateful that they even began the conversation with us. And we're excited about the possibility of what that could look like. Again, I know council's going to do their due diligence. It's ultimately their decision, but it's such an encouraging thing that as they reach this point where they realize they need to do something different with their temple facility, that one of their thoughts was, how can we reinvest that place back into the community? And we're so grateful that it's not just them, but that residents across Longview think that way. That's truly what makes this place something special.